So last week we did discuss few Indian, what should I say? It's not Indian. I mean, I should not keep saying Indian. The philosophies, the darshanas, uh, which are emerged from the scriptures. There are 6 darshanas we did discuss, and Purva Mimamsa, Uttara Mimamsa. Sometimes, these words and language, even it's very new for the people from India. So don't worry about it. I'll try to explain every word in English I use. We did discuss these darshanas. Why it is called a darshana? Because it is experiential knowledge. And why there are so many conflicts, paradoxes, differences in these darshanas? If the experiential knowledge is one, about one, why different approaches? In Sanskrit, there is a verse called Ekam Sat. Ekam Sat means single truth. Ekam Sat means single truth. Ekam Sat is the single truth is explained by different wise people in many approaches or many paths. So that's why the philosophy, the eternal principle of life, I should call it eternal principle of life, says all thoughts, all processes, all religions are teaching us about one thing. And Bhagavad Gita is no exception in that sense. So that's why I don't want to qualify any text as a religious text, which I kind of explained last week as well. So Bhagavad Gita is a text of our right approach and identifying, finding the truth within is the text we are going to read. So please don't consider it as any religious text. With that, I'm going to share my screen. So I'll start from the question which started last week. I wandered around this question. Who wrote Gita? Like I said, if I just have to give an introduction to Bhagavad Gita, it takes 1 year just for the introduction. But we'll get into the text in our next week session. But as we are doing the text, I will also kind of try to cover the philosophy, the thought behind each verse. So who wrote Gita? It says Veda Vyasa wrote Mahabharata. Mahabharata is an epic. And this Gita has about 18 chapters. And somehow this 18, kind of gains some significance here because there are 18 epics. There are 18 chapters in the Gita. And in Mahabharata, it's in the war. There are 18 Akshohinis. I don't want to elaborate this word Akshohinis. 18 categories of, what do you call the Senas? How do you translate Senas into the army? 18 Akshohinis of the army. So there's 18 kind of gains its significance. And this Vyasa is supposedly have written. And Vyasa was alive during the Mahabharata for the entire epic. And I'm not going to go into the story of Vyasa. And sometimes this Vyasa appears in the Ramayana. And lack of better timelines, someone said Ramayana, it's another epic, the story of the Rama, which happened around 10,000 BC, whereas Mahabharata took about around 5,000 BC. And there are a lot of controversies on these dates, but somehow I am stuck on these dates. So the difference between the Ramayana and Mahabharata is almost 5,000 years. It appears as though this guy Vyasa lived for so many years. But there is also another thought that Vyasa is like a title, and there are many Vyasas who wrote all these books with the title Vyasa, like a pen name. But Vyasa is a title, like suppose someone is a doctorate in literature, PhD. So it's like the doctorate degree is like Vyasa, right? So there are many Vyasas, and this Vyasa goes by multiple names. He is called Veda Vyasa because he categorized the Vedas into 4 branches. And the Sanskrit, the language which is used in Vedas, is way different from the language, the Sanskrit, which is used after the Vedanta. Vedanta means it is not end of Vedas, but the text which has begun after the Vedas. That's why it is called Vedanta. So the Vedanta Sanskrit is very different because by the time Vedanta came into existence, the Sanskrit language became more structured, and it followed certain patterns, what is called chandas and things like that. So the name signifies his role in dividing the Vedas into 4 branches, which is called Rig Veda, Samaveda, Yajurveda, Atharva Veda. And then he's also called Krishna Dvaipayana. Krishna means dark. Even Lord Krishna, the name Krishna came to him because he is of a dark complexion. So Dvaipayana means it's like an island who is born in an island. Again, why he is born in an island is because his mother, who is should I get into the story? No, I don't want to waste time. So let me get into the real subject, right? And Vaishampayana, it's another name associated with him narrating the Mahabharata. And we already said Dvaipayana is the one who is born in island. And then the question is, why read Gita? I want to quote Tilak here. All this I prepared right before coming to satsang. I didn't get any time. So this is all preparation from 10 minutes. So why read Gita? I'm going to quote Tilak. He was referring to, there is another text called Ramcharitmanas. He said from that, he quoted, the Lord Shiva is telling his wife, Uma, he says, Banar Katak Uma maine dekha. Sojo Murak Chahleka means the army of Vanaras. Vanaras means monkeys. It's Va Nara. Va means the tail, the man with the tail. Nara means human. So the humans with the tail are called monkeys. And later Darwin said we all evolved from the monkeys, right? But this is 10,000 BC we are talking about. Vanara Kataka Umamai Deka means I have seen the army of the monkeys crossing the bridge which they built over the ocean. The way they built the bridge is where they kind of threw stones, floating stones into the ocean, and that created a bridge and they walked. And this number of the army, if someone is a fool to even count them, it means it's countless army. That's what he meant. And Tilak said, and so many Vanaras crossed the bridge, countless army crossed the bridge, and none of them knew the depth of the ocean. So quoting this, Tilak said, so many commentators, so many people spoke about Gita in length, but not a single person understood the depth of this Gita. So that's the significance. You can understand what the amount of knowledge, practical knowledge, which is embedded into this Gita. So that's why it is important. It's a Gita is a way of life. That is why all the chapters are categorized with the name yoga. Here, yoga does not mean the yoga asanas, the postures. Yoga means practical knowledge, which we can adopt, implement to make our lives better. So that's why reading Gita is understanding how to navigate through our life. Interestingly, symbolically, this Gita takes place in the middle of the war, when the war is about to begin. So many thousands and thousands of soldiers on both sides are ready to fight. You can imagine the tense atmosphere in any war, right? And in that middle of that, the Gita emerges. So it only symbolically signifies that those who adopt the teachings of the Gita, practically implement them, we can go through this battle of our life. We all go through so many changes, situations, and still maintain your posture, steadfastness. And that's what Gita teaches us. That's why it is so important to understand Gita. And I've taken one verse from the Gita invocation, Gita Dhyanam, what it is called. So this also gives us the format how we are going to understand and learn these verses. I'll read it in the Sanskrit and then we can get into the English. So Sarvopanishado Gavo, Dokta Gopala Nandana, Partha Vatsaha, Sudhir Bhakta, Dagdam, Gitamrutam Maham. So if I have to read the English translation, it says all the Upanishads are the cows, and the milker is the Krishna, the son of the cowherd. Arjuna is the calf. The men of purified intellect are the enjoyers, and the great nectar of Gita is the milk. So what it's signifying is, it is the essence of all Upanishads, all the teachings, all the philosophies which we spoke in the last week are summarized and presented to us in a very concise form. Like I said, even to read, master, understand the one Upanishad takes lifetime. So if I want to understand all the Upanishad, the essence of it, I can just read Gita and understand those teachings. And he has taken the best of all the philosophies and presented it in the Gita. That's why Gita becomes a text which embodies all knowledge. Again, I emphasize practical knowledge. So if I have to understand, each Sarvopanishado, you can also read it in English, Sarvopanishada. Sarva means all. Upanishad means all the Upanishads. Gavaha means the cow. Dogda, the milker, the one who extracts milk from the cows. Gopala Nandana, the Lord Krishna is known as the Gopala. Gopala means the cowherds. He is born in the family of the cowherd. That's what it means. He's the son of a cowherd. Partha is known as Arjuna. Again, each of these names, why Arjuna is called Partha, why Arjuna cannot be named as Arjuna. So you will see several names attributed to Lord Krishna based on what they have done in the past. So that's why you will see in each verse Arjuna is addressed with a different name. In each verse, even Lord Krishna is addressed with a different name. We'll go through it when we go into the verses. Vatsaha. Vatsa means baby. Or as here, the baby of the cow is called calf. Sudhi. Sudhi means the people wise. Bhokta means the one who enjoys. Sudhi Bhokta. See, that's why Sanskrit, if you understand one language in Indian language, you can easily follow Sanskrit. Dugdham, milk. Gita Amrutam. Gita Amrutam, nectar. Here Amrita, Mrit means the death. Amrita means which avoids or which can give you immortality. That's what the Amritam is known as. So Gita Amritam, it's a nectar of life. Mahat, great. See how it's easy to understand once we break down the words. So all Upanishads are the cows, means basically all the essence of the Gita is served as a nectar to us in form of Gita. And that's why it is important to read Gita. So what I already said, it integrates all the diverse strands of Indian philosophy. Last week we spoke about Sankhya. Each philosophy, again, all of these philosophies are talking about one. The approaches are different. Somebody says, we are the separate from that essence, and someone says it's only essence, rest everything is illusion. That is what the Advaita philosophy says. So like that, all philosophies are embodied, explained. The essence of all philosophies are explained in Gita. So that's why it's important for us to understand this real essence and see how we can bring that essence into our life. And like we hear, at least for our heartfulness practitioners, and you also see there is a book from Daji, The Paradoxes. You can see all these paradoxes here. It doesn't present a simple answer. There is action, there is inaction. And inaction is as important as action. Sometimes action is important, sometimes inaction is important. So, and recently, someone shared with me, those who understand the story of Ramayana. So Rama, his father gives promise to his wife, his third wife, that the third wife's son will become a king. And the Rama, who is the son of the elder wife and also the elder son, will go to forest. So someone said, if Krishna had been there in Rama's place, he would not have gone to forest for 14 years. He would have given up the kingdom to the third wife's son, whose name is Bharata. And then he would have gone to the forest for a day and would have come back. What it implies is, see, it's all about Krishna's teachings. If you adopt the Krishna's teaching, always the rules are there. But use your common sense when you apply them. What applies to your situation? What applies to your condition? What applies to your community? What makes more sense? Adopt that. What makes more sense for your individual siloed surroundings. There is always a greater good, but there is also, so that's why he did not give any importance to any rules. He said, follow according to the situation. So it's very important. That even you will see Daji saying it so many times. Just because it is said by someone or somebody on the top, it doesn't mean if it doesn't apply to you, don't follow it. That's the essence of Gita. And our teachers, our heartfulness teachers have said the same thing in many ways. We kind of become very rigid about the rules and regulations. That's our fallacy. So Bhagavad Gita is not a religious scripture, I already said it. And Gita at the results with this existence, paradoxes of existence. What is the nature of the self? What is reality? How can one act in a world of impermanence without being bound by action? See, here he is saying without being bound by action, he doesn't mean don't do the action. He means follow it for greater good. Follow it in such a sense what brings the better situation to your situation in life. Right? So here, there is, again, the nature of humans is to take anything to the extreme. So here the Sanskrit statement comes, Nitya Anitya Vastu Viveka, means Nitya, which is permanent, the truth, Anitya, which is impermanent. And how do you discern between what is permanent and what is impermanent? But impermanent is also as important as what is permanent. We think that I should negate completely what is impermanent and I only should adopt what is permanent. How is it possible? In your impermanent existence, you see, we kind of want to tend to always go in one direction. But Gita says stand above all rules and regulations, all instructions, and see what is applicable right now, that is impermanent, and what is applicable in long term, that is permanent. So we must weigh in the right way. That is where the wisdom comes in. If I am just a follower, so I asked someone, in one of the sessions, why do you meditate? And that person responded to me, because my master says so. I said, God help me. We put this master stamp in everything. Oh, master said we must follow. Well, you should follow what is applicable for your situation. Okay. Why should we meditate? To bring clarity in my life, to enhance my consciousness and understand this impermanent, the real essence, the truth within. That's why you meditate, not because master says so. See, this is where, so you have to follow the teachings and everything, all instructions with a proper understanding. Okay. So that is very important. That's the teaching of the Gita. And you will understand and recognize that as you read the Gita. Right? And it challenges. And the reason the Gita presents in such a way that you can interpret it in any way, depending on from what thought process you are coming from. Some says Gita is Dharma Shastra. And some says Gita is a Moksha Shastra. Dharma Shastra means the rules and regulations of life. And they point it to some Manusmriti, one of the texts in India. It says, what should you do since from the time you get up to from the time you sleep and after sleep? What you should do. It is narrated in that. So that is, it's called the precepts of life is Dharma Shastra. So some people have objected to saying that Gita is not the Dharma Shastra, but according to me, Gita is both Dharma Shastra and Moksha Shastra. The Shastra, which is, Shastra means the scripture or text. Moksha means liberation, or basically understanding the essence of life, the essence, the truth. the real essence. You can call it the divine principle. So going back to this idea, Vanara, Va means with the human with the tail. Human with the tail. We are all, now we don't have the tails, but the tail is invisible in us. The tail is still there. So that's why we have to become the human first. To become the human first, we have to understand the principle of Dharma. Again, principle of Dharma is what you should do, what you should not do. That's not the principle. That's again, these Vanaras who walked on the bridge over the ocean have not even seen 1 foot depth of the water. That's why we become so orthodox in our approach to life. Dharma means sustenance of life. What is that we can do as humans to contribute to the sustenance of life? It starts from everything. How you throw your trash is related to Dharma. Do you separate the recycled ones from the, and even how when you throw your vegetable peels, you can use it for the plants, but we throw them in the trash. Even right from there it starts. Dharma is eternal principle of life. How do you apply? How do you bring harmony around you, inside you, outside you, or everywhere? This is all Dharma is about. It's the sustenance of life. Life sustains by many things. It's not life doesn't sustain just by food and clothing. There's so many other things comes with it. Especially for human beings as evolved beings. So, Gita teaches the sustenance of life. Gita also teaches how can we apply ourselves to enhance this consciousness. Right? And also, Gita's main teaching is Sthita Prajna. How can you be steadfast in all situations, under all situations? The steadfastness is not just being a steadfast. Oh, I don't care. I don't become. So this is not about becoming stoics. This is about becoming steadfast with the proper understanding, with the proper knowledge. And that's why, you should read the message, April 30th message from Daji, which is given. He talks so many times, he used the word right understanding. And that comes with proper in harmony inside you, outside you. Enhance that consciousness, which leads to love. Then you can have the full understanding. Then you can be steadfast in all situations. So, this is the essence of why we should read Gita. So please let me know if you have any comments, observations, or questions. I'll stop it here. And again, while I'm talking, if you get any questions, don't hold on to it. I want to make this as a more of a discussion than one-way presentation. So please interrupt me for any thought, any questions, or if you want to share something, please do so. Everyone is calm.
Now, in Ramayana, where was Vyasa mentioned?
In Ramayana, where is Vyasa mentioned?
I couldn't remember.
This bar tail,
Huh?
why is tail?
Why is there?
Oh, because one is all forest basically, right?
You see that's the beauty of the Sanskrit language. It depends on how you want to break it. One means forest. Then R doesn't translate into human.
No,
So
one
Nar
means
is
one means forest dweller.
that's what I'm saying. It depends on how you break it.
Okay.
That's the beauty of the Sanskrit language.
So what is preferred, forest dweller or like a?
Depending on what you want to prefer, it changes by the context. Changes by the context.
I think I'll probably prefer forest dweller.
Either way is fine. And someone recently said, the army of the monkeys, it is said in Ramayana. Someone recently, I heard in one of the podcasts, they are the forest dwellers who kind of put in
Camouflage.
not camouflage. They do an kind of an attachment as a tail.
Yes, yeah.
So it's like their ornament. The tail was an external ornament.
Yeah,
It is not from their body.
yeah.
Even so, that's right. So
Some of the tribes still do that, face mask on mask.
correct. So that is not really the monkeys.
Yeah.
So I mean, there are so many thoughts, right? So here, that's why you cannot say this is the way it should be understood. That's why I'm saying, understand the way you prefer to understand. But also go beyond. So Gita doesn't say, okay, get fixated on what you know, what you understand. The essence of the teaching of the Gita is always try to go beyond, look beyond what you know already. I mean, if I have to summarize in one line what is Gita is, it's teachings of encouraging people to go beyond what they know. So it doesn't serve the answers in the plate. It will encourage you to find the answers. All right. Thank you all. So, let's